Having problems remembering something you just learned, getting anxiety and stress and you just can't control it? Well, say no more because exercising will be your new and improved painkillers that will rock your world. The brain is a muscle as well as it needs to be exercised. There are many benefits on the brain with physical exercise, especially aerobics. It has benefits on the brain function on multiple fronts, varying from molecular to behavioral level. A study shown from the Department of Exercise Science at the University of Georgia shows that doing physical activity for 20 minutes can easily improve the processing and memory functions in your brain. Exercise also helps the brain plasticity by stimulating the growth of new connections between cells in the cortex of the brain. The research from UCLA has shown that exercise makes growth factors in the brain increase, which facilitates the growth of new neural connections. Did you know that, interestingly, differences between exercise styles, such as opting for cycling over running, is associated with an enchanting brain function during and after working out? Ballroom dancing, an activity with both physical and mental demands, has a higher impact on cognitive functioning over exercise or mental tasks alone, indicating that the best brain health workouts involve those which integrate different parts of the brain, such as coordination, rhythm, and strategy. Your mind doesn't only form intellectual memories, it also forms muscle or motor memory. Your muscles don't help you remember how, for example, to ride a bike. It is your motor memory in your brain that does. Our brain sends a complex but simple range of signals to your muscles, which tells them what action to do next so you don't do the wrong action. Motor memory is also important for daily activities such as walking, but is also more important for tasks like getting the perfect tennis swing. A research was done at the University of Copenhagen, which asked men to learn a new tracking skill on a computer. They had to use a joystick to trace a red line while it squiggled across the computer screen. Some of the men that weren't doing this experiment exercised before learning the task, some didn't, and some exercised right after learning the skill. The conductors of the experiment did a follow-up test on the men 1 hour later. The men had to perform the same task. The men that had exercised after had performed the best. Those who fared the best belonged to the group who exercised just after learning the task. A testing session one day, and then 1 week later, they traced the line more accurately with greater agility. The group that exercised before learning the new skill also performed better than those who didn't exercise, though not as well as the group that exercised after. If you want to help improve your memory and to be sure that you will retain all of the new information that you've just learned, researchers have said you must exercise after you've learned something new. Its findings indicate that one bout of intense exercise performed immediately before or after practicing a motor task is sufficient to improve the long-term retention of a motor skill. The positive effects of acute exercise on motor memory are maximized when exercise is performed immediately after practice during the early stages of memory consolidation. Studies show that exercising is powerful enough to reduce anxiety and even get rid of it forever. There are studies that have shown a very big relation between an absence of inactivity and development of anxiety. Some of the purposes include unused energy, which is mostly the reason. Body needs to move. When it doesn't, it creates a strain on your body. It happens often with dogs. If they don't get their walk, they become very anxious and hyper because they didn't get a chance to let out their energy. That unused energy turns into physical tension, which then turns into mental tension. Increased stress hormones is when you feel stress and your body releases a hormone called cortisol. There is proof that when being physically active, it reduces the cortisol and brings it back to normal levels. When feeling stressed, one must not be inactive but take charge and fight the anxiety by being active. Immune system malfunction is when exercise is needed for a regulated immune system to keep it healthy at a normal hormone balance. Inactivity is obviously not the solution for everyone, so people are genetically prone to anxiety, or some have had past experience that could make them have anxiety. Anxiety management purposes is to fight anxiety by performing different actions. Preventing inactivity. Exercise will prevent your anxiety. Exercise reduces the chance of inactivity related to anxiety that affects you. Releasing relaxation neurotransmitters. The reason for why exercise works most of the time is because it has similar effects to some anxiety medications. Exercise releases endorphins in the brain, which acts as your body's natural painkillers. They are released to prevent exercise to hurt us, but they also act as a regulator and relaxes our mind. Breaking cortisol. Everyone who has anxiety is most likely to have an excess amount of cortisol in their body because of the stress and anxiety that was on them. Exercise gets rid of the cortisol, which helps prevent future issues with anxiety, such as concentration and fatigue. Improved sleep. Because exercise tires the body, it aids a person with anxiety to sleep, which many people with anxiety have trouble doing. Sleep is a necessity for anxiety management. Healthy activity. Exercise is a healthy coping mechanism in general, and it is important to cope in ways that are good for you, for your mental health, and exercise is definitely a good way to cope. Many struggle with various issues that cannot be helped. Luckily, people that struggle with anxiety and learning have advantages such as being able to be almost cured while doing an activity as fun and as energizing as exercising. So stop complaining that you are unable to learn or unable to complete a task because you have a problem. Take charge and exercise. Release those endorphins, which are your body's natural painkillers, and fight, fight, fight.